Okay, this is the practice quiz over Trig. So there are 14 questions, I think. One of them's missing. So on this side, you can see the questions. On this side, I'm going to work it out. Just going to start with number 1. It says the right triangle shown below is formed by joining 3 squares at their vertices. So you can see there's 3 squares. And if you remember, the formula for a rectangle to find area is length times width. And we know that a square has 4 sides that are all congruent. So if I call this side length, this is going to be equal to it. So I could do length times length, which is equal to length squared. So I could say length squared is equal to whatever the area is. So if you look at this small square right here, that area is 256. So you do the square root of both sides. You're going to find out that the length of that side is 16. Then you've got this other square. We know that all the squares are the same. They have the same sides. So this side is 34, so this one is also 34. So right now, I've got a triangle. This is my right angle. I know this side is 16. I know that this side is 34. Based on what we just saw from right here. Now the goal is to figure out the area of this one. I know that if I can figure out this, I can multiply it by this other side over here, which is the same thing because it's a square. So, this is a triangle. I just used the Pythagorean theorem. So 16 squared plus the other leg. Legs touch the right angle. This is a leg, so that is also a leg. So we're going to do plus x squared is equal to 34 squared. We know that 16 squared is that because we just went backwards. And this is going to be 1,156 when you square 34. So I'm going to subtract 256 from both sides. We get x squared is equal to 900. Square root would give me the side length. We'd find out that that was 30. But that's not what the question asked for. The question actually asked for the area. So I'd multiply 30 times 30, which is 900. So that's going to be my answer. Your answer there is C for number 1. Let's go to number 2. Number 2 is a little bit easier. You see that a roof has an overall height of 8 feet. So the height goes straight up and down. And a slant height of 17. If I tell you something's slanted, it's crooked. So that's going to be this direction right here. Which equation can be used to solve for the measure of angle A? Select all that apply. So that means we're going to have more than one answer. Make sure you read this, right? Don't fall for something and just pick one answer. So we're going to come over here. We're going to put a right angle right here. So I can draw that for you. So when you take the test, it's going to be online, so you're going to also have to draw this out. And it makes problems a lot easier when you're willing to draw them. We talked about that in class. Right here, B is going to be a right angle because it tells me this is the actual height. Right? So since that's the actual height, I know that the height is 8. This is going to be across the right angle, so I know that's the hypotenuse. And we can figure out this side right here using the Pythagorean theorem. Now, in this problem, I really don't have to do that, because if you notice, this is 8 over 15, this is 8 over 17, 15 over 8, 15 over 17, 17 over 8, 17 over 15. They don't give me any other numbers to try and trick me. So, if you're in a rush, you're doing a multiple choice test, something, they didn't try and confuse you, they just went ahead and told you the other side was 15. So let's go ahead and say it's 15. You would do the Pythagorean theorem to find out if that was true, if you wanted to. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you they gave you the right answer. And if you see other questions or other numbers, you are going to want to do that to see which one's correct. But you're probably not going to see another answer because they're just trying to see if you can set it up. So, let's see, tangent is opposite over adjacent, right? So we're looking at this angle because it asked about A. It is opposite over adjacent. So I'll label my OA and H. A is correct. Let's look at B. B says 8 over 17 is sine. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. That is still the opposite of A. That is the hypotenuse. B works. C says that tangent is 15 over 8. Opposite was 8. Adjacent was 15. That does not work. Now, remember, there can only be one type of tangent for each angle. So since I actually already found out with A that tangent was 8 over 15, I can't use tangent again. So I could go ahead and mark out C just based on that fact. Cosine of A, let's see, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And you're going to have these on the formula sheet. Adjacent is 15, hypotenuse is 17, D works. And then once again, E and F, I've already done cosine of A and sine of A, so I know those two can't work. Move on to number 3. 3 is a nice straightforward problem. It's just asking you what is equivalent to tangent of O. So tangent is opposite over adjacent. O is up here. Once again, they didn't give me this side, and I could figure it out using Pythagorean theorem. I need this one, x squared, plus the other leg is 12 squared equals 13 squared. Sorry. Subtract. Square root. So that would be 5. But once again, this is a multiple choice test, and if I don't want to do all that, I come over here and look and see, is there another solution besides 5? 5 over 13. 13's already up there. 5 over 12. 12's already up there. 12 over 13. 12 and 13 are there. 5 is the only other number up there, so I did not have to do this solely because it was a multiple choice test. But let's see. We want tangent, which is equal to opposite over adjacent. So we're looking at O. This is H. Opposite and adjacent. That is 12 over 5. So all we got to do is find that fraction, right? And that is D. Number 4. What is the height to the nearest tenth of a foot? Okay. Remember, we stop each comma. So what is the height? Height goes straight up and down. So the nearest tenth of a foot. Can't draw that. Of a tree. I now know that this is a tree. And we're looking for this. Because it asked me what the height was at the beginning of the question. That creates a 40-foot shadow. Shadows go this way. When the sun is at an angle of elevation of 40 degrees. I hate this wording so much, but you're going to see questions like this. It says with the sun. Remember that if you see angle of elevation in there at all, it's asking you about this angle down here. So the wording is confusing when they ask about the sun, but it's going to be this angle down here every time. Now trees make a right angle, so we've got a nice trig problem. So we need the height, which is opposite that angle, and we've got the side between it and the right angle, which is going to be the adjacent. And we're missing this hypotenuse, right? So you don't need to use that. So it's going to be a tangent problem. So we've got tangent theta is equal to x over 40. Oh, I messed something up. We didn't put the angle of elevation in here, right? It's not going to be tangent 40, or theta is going to be tangent of 40. We need to solve for x. Once we solve for x, we can put it in the calculator. So I put this over 1, cross multiply. X times 1 is x. 40 times that. And you would put that in the calculator right there. Put it in exactly like this. I don't have a calculator right now, so I'm going to leave it like that for you. Number 5. Right angle, or right triangle RST is shown. If sine is 4/5 with the sine of alpha, which is just that fish symbol. So you got this upside down triangle, right? This angle is called beta. This is called alpha. A lot of times we've just referred to this as S and R, but they may give you these. They're just Greek letters. It's just like theta. You can just ask for it. So they're asking me, they said that sine of alpha is equal to 4/5. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, right? So I come to alpha, opposite's going to go over here, that's 4, and hypotenuse goes across from the right angle, that's 5. And then they're asking me for beta, so cosine of beta is equal to question mark, right? And we know cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So if I look adjacent to beta, that's 4. And hypotenuse stays the same, right? So it's actually what we started with. And this would be left how it is. You don't have to put that in the calculator. I prefer you leave it as 4/5. This problem, remember, if you remember that sine of this angle is equal to cosine of that angle, you didn't even have to do all this work. You just could say it. Number 6. The right angle is shown. So this is just like the one we just did. Cosine of alpha. Cosine right there. And we've got beta. Got a right triangle. Cosine of alpha is 5/13. The bottom is the hypotenuse. And this is adjacent. So sine of beta is opposite over hypotenuse. So it's going to be the same fraction. You're going to see problems like this a lot. They're really easy if you can remember that cosine alpha is the same as sine of beta. They just switch. Because remember, if you add these two angles together, they equal 90 because a whole triangle is 180. So they literally switch. Let's go ahead and get 7 on this video before I switch to a new one for you. A right triangle key is shown below, which represents sine of y. You've got a nice little right triangle, 4, 2, square root of 5. So we are looking at angle y, right? So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite I can draw an arrow from. Hypotenuse is across from there. So all I gotta do is do 4/6. But if you look at the multiple choice, that's not one of the choices. But 4/6, we know what to do with. We're just gonna reduce that. These are both divisible by 2. So your answer is gonna be 2/3, which is A. Okay, I'm gonna make a second video for the second half.